Hi everyone, welcome back to Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. Today it's time for lesson 207 and the topic we have for you is the FIFA World Cup. Of course, the FIFA World Cup 2014, this year, will start in just a couple of days. It'll start on the 12th of June and it ends on Sunday, July the 13th. So there's going to be a lot of excitement everywhere across the nation and perhaps across the world as well. Well, there were talks about Costa's World Cup dreams being in danger everywhere. People were talking about it. It was in the media. And Korea is in Group H, that is. Now, we are with Belgium, Algeria, and Russia. And you may be worried about, am I going to be able to watch these games or not? Because of the hours. For example, Korea will be up against Russia on the 17th of June at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then following that on the 22nd at 4 o'clock up against Algeria, and finally up against Belgium at 5 o'clock in the morning on the 26th. But hey, we're all going to root for the Korean national team, right? I'm ready for it as well. Okay, then let's begin with today's topic with Actual Talk.
So Kelly, are you looking forward to the World Cup 2014 Brazil?
To be honest, I'm always conscientious of it and I read a lot about it, but not since, I guess it must have been around maybe 2006 or so. I might have the date wrong. When Korea was involved in the FIFA World Cup, did I ever truly get emotionally invested?
2006, that was the one after the one that was here in Korea. So that was in Germany, I believe. And they did quite well.
Yes, they did, although I was really disappointed that they didn't do better. I felt they deserved to. I was fanatical. I've never seen myself like that. Like, I had the bandana. I had a jersey on every day. That thing was falling apart. I wore it to work every day. I mean, I was a fan. I would stay up all... You're right, it was in Germany, because I stayed up all night to watch those games.
Right, and you were dressed tip to toe in red.
Yeah, I had the makeup on my cheeks and everything.
Oh, awesome, the Korean flag or the red and blue spots. Well, 2002 was the year for me when I really got into it. That's when it was hosted here in Korea. They got to the semi-finals. There were some giant killing episodes. They beat Italy and Spain. And I think it's the first time I've cried consistently throughout the tournament.
Wow.
Tears of joy.
Really?
Every time they beat one of the big teams, yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's kind of a cool feeling. Like, I felt like a whole country became a community and I could go out and everybody rallied to watch it. And I felt like we were all just a giant family rooting for one team. So that's a memory that stays with me. And I guess maybe this year, maybe I'll get to experience that again. You've given me some incentive to go to the tube.
Yeah, let's all get behind Korea.
Go Korea.
Welcome back, everyone. In today's Actual Talk conversation, we had Kelly and Peter helping us out. Now, these two were, of course, talking about our topic, the FIFA World Cup. Kelly did mention something about how she started to really enjoy soccer, or as they call it, football in some countries, in 2006. But Peter really got into it in year 2002, which was when I got into soccer as well, or at least watching soccer, that is, and cheering for the Korean team. Okay, well, let's take a look at the conversation then. Here we go. Now, Peter says, Kelly, are you looking forward to the World Cup 2014 Brazil? Now, look forward to something means that you are awaiting something very eagerly. So if you're eager for something to happen, or if you are eager to go somewhere, excited to go somewhere, and you can't wait until it happens, you can say that you look forward to it. So the question is, Kelly, are you looking forward to the World Cup 2014 or 2014 Brazil? And she says, to be honest, honestly, frankly speaking, I am always conscientious of it and I read a lot about it. Okay, let's take the sentence up to here. Now here is one of our vocab words for today, conscientious. conscientious. Now, you would use this word especially if you are very careful about doing your job or your work properly. So I'm sure that you and I, we all are conscientious about our work. We're very careful about getting it done properly. So Kelly did mention conscientious, but I thought for a moment that conscious could also work in this sentence, because if you say that you are conscious of something, it means that you are aware of something. You know about what's happening about it all the time, okay? So you could always say, I'm always conscious of it, which means you are always aware of what is happening about it. So she reads a lot about it, but not since maybe 2006 or so, meaning around 2006, when Korea was involved in the FIFA World Cup. So what is her point? Since she said not since 2006 or so, she's saying that she is interested. She is conscious or conscientious of the FIFA World Cup, but not since 2006, meaning not before 2006. Ever since year 2006 or so, around that time, she has started to become aware of the sport or interested in the sport, okay? So keep in mind, not before 2006, but ever since year 2006, she has been interested in soccer or the FIFA World Cup. Now moving on, Peter says, 2006. So that was in Germany. That's where the FIFA World Cup took place. He says, I believe. And they did quite well. Now, Kelly says, yes, they did. Although I was really disappointed that they didn't do better. Okay, so which team are we talking about? We're talking about the Korean national team. They, okay? They did well. The Korean national team did well, but she says, I was really disappointed that they didn't do better. I guess she had high expectations for the Korean national team. She thought that they were going to do really well, but they didn't do as well as she thought or as she expected. That is why she's saying, I was really disappointed that they did not do better. She says, I was fanatical. Fanatical. That's our vocab word for today as well. Now, you can be a fan of someone or something, which means that you are very dedicated, devoted to it or that person. But you can say that you were fanatical as well. Now, we're talking about the state of being devoted or dedicated to something or someone. So she's saying she was crazy about it. She was so into it, devoted. I've never seen myself like that. I've never seen myself so crazy about something, so fanatical about something. I had the bandana. I had a jersey on every day, every single day, perhaps during the FIFA World Cup games. So let's take a look at the word bandana here. It's not banana, it's bandana. So what is a bandana? I wish I brought one here because I have a few at home. A bandana is, I would say, very close to a handkerchief. It's also called a scarf, but I would say it's closer to a handkerchief. It's casually worn. Usually, it has many prints on it, and they come in many bright colors or several or various colors. I usually put a bandana around my dog's neck, okay, because she looks nice in it. So I would say that a bandana, just think of it as a handkerchief that is usually worn casually, okay, that has prints on it. And what is a jersey? A jersey is a shirt. Simply put, a pullover shirt with no buttons. But here we are talking about not just an ordinary shirt, but sports players, they usually wear jerseys. Soccer players, basketball players, even baseball players, the shirts that they wear, perhaps the uniforms that they wear, are also called jerseys. So maybe she's talking about how she always had a bandana on and a jersey on, perhaps a shirt very similar to a soccer uniform. I've seen a lot of Red Devils wear them when they cheer for the Korean national team, right? Okay, so let's move on. And then she says, that thing was falling apart. What's that thing? She's talking about either the bandana or I would say the jersey. That thing was falling apart. Let's take a look at the next sentence. I wore it to work every day. Okay, now do you get an idea of the word fall apart? Now, fall apart means to break into pieces or also to be destroyed, okay? You can wear your jeans or let's say shoes every single day and your shoes can fall apart, which means that they kind of become worn out. They fall apart. Usually we say that something such as clothing, let's say pants or even a shirt, they fall apart at the seams. It means that where the stitching is, it kind of falls apart. So the shirt kind of rips because it's old, it's worn out. So she's saying she wore it to work every day because she was a fan. The shirt or the jersey was falling apart. And then she says, you're right, it was in Germany because I stayed up all night, meaning she did not sleep a wink. She was up all night to watch those games. Now, Peter says, right, and you would dress tip to toe in red. Okay, so he makes it a question by bringing it up at the end. But here, tip to toe, what would that mean? Tip to toe or top to bottom. We do have several other ways of putting it. I'll be telling you later on, but it means in the same color or in similar colors. So he's saying dress tip to toe in red, meaning you would dress in red from head to toe. So you would dress yourself in red, all red, okay? Now let's find out what she said. She said, yeah, I had the makeup on, my cheeks, and everything. Okay, so Peter says, oh, awesome. The red and blue spots, or designs, I guess. He says, well, 2002 was the year for me, for Peter, when I really got into it. Get into, you know what that means by now. If you are into something, you are saying that you are very devoted to it, dedicated to it, or you like it very much. He's saying, I got into it. When? In 2002, meaning he really started to get a lot of interest in soccer. That's when he found a lot of interest for it. That's when it was hosted here in Korea, and they got to the semifinals. Semi can be pronounced semi or semi-finals, so keep that in mind. Now, to host something means to hold something, such as an event. So, an event can be hosted in Korea. The party can be hosted by somebody or a certain organization. It means to hold or to host, okay? Let's move on. He says, there were some giant killing episodes. They beat Italy and Spain. Okay, let's take a look at this. They, of course, we're talking about the Korean national team. They won against Italy and Spain. Now, the Italian team and the Spanish team, these two teams are very strong teams. They're extremely, really, really good teams and well-known teams. So, he's saying there were some giant killing episodes and they beat Italy and Spain. So, can you figure out what giant killing means? Let's say, for example, especially in sports, giant killing means when perhaps a weak team, a team that is not so good, wins against a very strong team. So if a weak team beats a very strong or a well-known competitor or a well-known sports team, you would say that that game or that instance or situation was a giant killing. Okay, so we're talking about the success. So giant killing episodes. Why? Because they beat Italy and Spain. And I think it's the first time I've cried consistently, meaning on and on and on, without stop throughout the tournament. Why did he cry? Let's move on. He says, tears of joy. He cried, but he did not cry because he was sad. They were tears of joy. He cried, right? And when you cry, tears fall from your eyes. But he says, tears of joy, meaning he was so happy that he cried. Okay, so he cried because he was happy and not sad. And he gives us details by saying every time they beat one of the big teams, meaning the strong teams, he cried tears of joy. Okay, let's move on to the very last part of our conversation. Kelly says, wow, it felt like the whole country, the entire country, became a community. Became one, in other words. Everybody rallied to watch it. Now, rally here is used in the verb form, and it means to come together, to bond together, to become one, especially for a certain purpose. So we're talking about people getting together and bonding together as one community or one group, okay? And I felt like we were all just a giant family, a very big family, rooting for one team. To root for something means to cheer for something. So she's saying, since so many people came together, they rallied, they got together to watch the games and to cheer for their teams, it felt like we were all a very huge family, a giant family, rooting for, cheering for our team. So that's a memory that stays with me. If a memory stays with you, it means that you do not forget about that memory. It stays in your mind. And she says, and maybe this year, I'll get to experience that again. The same excitement. Okay, and Peter, of course, ends by saying, hopefully. It sure was a lot of fun. You know, whether the team wins or loses, I think it's all about coming together as a community, uniting as one, and just cheering and rooting for that one team you believe in, okay? So let's take a listen to the conversation one more time.
So Kelly, are you looking forward to the World Cup 2014 Brazil?
To be honest, I'm always conscientious of it, and I read a lot about it, but not since, I guess it must have been around maybe 2006 or so. I might have the date wrong. When Korea was involved in the FIFA World Cup, did I ever truly get emotionally invested?
2006, that was the one after the one that was here in Korea. So that was in Germany, I believe. And they did quite well.
Yes, they did, although I was really disappointed that they didn't do better. I felt they deserved to. I was fanatical. I've never seen myself like that. Like, I had the bandana. I had a jersey on every day. That thing was falling apart. I wore it to work every day. I mean, I was a fan. I would stay up all... You're right, it was in Germany, because I stayed up all night to watch those things.
Right, and you were dressed tip to toe in red.
Yeah, I had the makeup on my cheeks and everything.
Oh, awesome, the Korean flag or the red and blue spots. Well, 2002 was the year for me when I really got into it. That's when it was hosted here in Korea. They got to the semi-finals. There were some giant killing episodes. They beat Italy and Spain. And I think it's the first time I've cried consistently throughout the tournament.
Wow.
Tears of joy.
Really?
Every time they beat one of the big teams, yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's kind of a cool feeling. Like, I felt like a whole country became a community, and I could go out and everybody rallied to watch it, and I felt like we were all just a giant family rooting for one team. So that's a memory that stays with me, and I guess maybe this year, maybe I'll get to experience that again. You've given me some incentive to go to the tube.
Yeah, let's all get behind Korea.
Go Korea.
Welcome back, everyone. Now it's time for actual expressions. Let's take a look at some vocab words and then take you straight to our patterns for today. Okay, let's take a look at conscientious. This word is a bit tricky to pronounce, so let's take a look at the pronunciation. It's conscientious. Conscientious. The N stress is a bit stronger than con. Conscientious, and it means faithful, devoted, or dedicated. What about fanatical? Fanatical. If you can't remember the meaning of this word, think of fan, okay? Big fans, extreme fans. Sometimes they go overboard. So if you are extremely or unusually dedicated or devoted to something, you can say fanatical. So it's over enthusiastic, infatuated, and even rabid. This word is used quite negatively in certain situations because we're talking about extreme devotion. unusual devotion. But of course, you can be a rabid baseball fan. Okay, so they often say that if you're irrational about something, or if you have an irrational opinion or support for something or someone, you can use the word rabid. That's a difficult word, but just keep it in mind. What about bandana? As I told you, some synonyms are scarf, also a neckerchief. I said handkerchief, but neckerchief is something like a handkerchief that you would wear around your neck. That's why it's called a neckerchief. Okay, that's a bandana. Let's move on. Jersey is what? It's like a pullover or a shirt, but also the shirts that sports players wear, such as in soccer or basketball or baseball. Think of their uniforms, what kinds of shirts they wear. They're all called jerseys as well. And to host in the verb form means to hold, have, arrange, or organize. And rally, I told you it's used in the verb form as well. It means to unite, gather, or bond together, especially for a certain purpose. Okay, now let's move on to our patterns. The first pattern is to fall apart. Fall apart, this has many definitions, as I told you. It can mean to break into small pieces. Clothing or shoes can fall apart, which means that they have gotten very old and they're worn out. So let's check it out in a sentence. My jacket is falling apart at the seams. Okay, where it is sewn together. I bought them just last week. So perhaps this person wore this jacket every single day and now it's falling apart. It's become very, very old. Moving on to our next one. Tip to toe. Now this is what Peter mentioned in today's conversation. Some other ways of putting it are head to toe, top to toe, or top to bottom. This means from head to toe. We were talking about dressing tip to toe in red, right? Which means to dress in red from head to toe. A sentence, I'm going to dress tip to toe in red every time I cheer for the Taeguk Warriors because, of course, the Red Devils dress in red. Okay, that's the color, right? So if you're going to say, I'm going to dress in red, all in red, you can say, I'm going to dress tip to toe in red from head to toe. Moving on to our next one. Giant killing or giant killings. Okay, we were talking about how there were giant killing episodes back in 2006 when the FIFA World Cup was held in Germany, right? Or was it 2002? That's right. So let's check out a sentence with it. The Taeguk Warriors have trained hard. Okay, why? To pull off giant killings, just as we did back in 2002. So remember what giant killing or giant killings is. It's especially used in sports when a rather weak team beats a very strong or well-known competitor. That success could be called a giant killing. Okay, so please do keep these vocab words and patterns in mind. Practice them more on your own.